Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah. I'm a rising sophomore economics major from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and today we're going to be making DIY masks.
To get started, you'll need to make sure you have all of the materials, which include fabric, at least two bands, mask cutouts, fabric pins, scissors, needle, and thread. The first step is to take the fabric, which should be a little over 1 meter in length, and cut it in half. After you've cut the fabric in half, you'll be left with two pieces. You'll only need one piece per mask, so I'll put one piece to the side. The next step is to choose a pattern size. The sizes range from small to extra large. Since these masks will be donated to senior citizens, I'll do large, but feel free to choose any size. Once you've chosen a size, you'll want to cut that size out from both sheets 1 and 2. After you've finished cutting, you should be left with two mask cutouts, one with the number 1 and another with the number 2.
Hey y'all, my name is Jai. I'm a sophomore early childhood education major from Decatur, Georgia, and today I will be showing you parts 3 and 4 of how to make these masks. Let's get into it. Okay, so what you're going to want to do first, you're going to take your piece of fabric and fold it in half. So make sure it's nice and straight. And then you're going to take your cutout outlines, part 1 and part 2, and you're going to want to line it up side by side. And you're going to take your pins and you're going to pin it down. So it doesn't really matter where, just make sure they're nice and secure. Make sure you don't poke yourself. Okay, so after pinning it down, it should be nice and sturdy like this, side by side. So now that you've pinned these to your fabric, you're going to want to cut out the outline of both part 1 and part 2. You're going to make sure you have some really sharp scissors. My scissors are not that sharp, so I'm going to have some trouble with this. But if you have some really sharp scissors, that would make this process a lot easier for you. So basically, you're just going to want to cut this out. You want to make sure you're going to try your best to cut it out neatly, because that's going to help you later on in the process. So yeah, I just cut mine in half to make it easier so I'm not like holding the whole thing. So part 1 is over here. I'm going to do part 2 first just because it's smaller than part 1. And so, yeah, I chose the size large, so I'm going to be cutting around the large section. And be careful you don't poke yourself with the needle, because they are poking out from underneath your paper. Okay, so after you finish cutting out both parts, you should have 2 separate pieces for both part 1 and part 2. And so the next step, we're going to be sewing both of these parts for each part 1 and part 2 along the curve. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is get your needle. I already pulled my needle through the loop right here and tied a knot. So that's essentially what you're going to want to do. Like pull the thread through the loop, tie a knot, and then you're going to want to get, you can start with whatever one you want. I'm starting with part 1, and you're going to poke a hole through both pieces of fabric and pull the needle through. Then you're going to switch, flip it over, poke another hole right next to it and pull it through, and that should create a little loop-de-loop. Then you're going to flip it over again and just continue this process along the side of the curve until it is all sewn together. Be careful you don't poke yourself again, because I've been stabbing myself over and over again. So Just be careful when you're doing this. So when you get to the end, you should have it sewed together like this. So when you're done sewing along the curve, it should kind of look like this. I'm guessing it's gonna look like that when you're done. And you're gonna want to repeat this for part 2. So part 2 is gonna go inside of part 1. And then you're gonna sew these two together. And yeah, so good luck.
You should now have 2 remaining pieces to work with. The 2 sewn pieces of part 1 now serves as 1 piece, and the 2 sewn pieces of part 2 now serves as 1 piece. Once both pieces of part 1 and part 2 have been sewn along the curved edges, lay part 1 and part 2 out, fully extended. Here, you will lay part 1 on top of part 2. Be sure the front sides of fabric are facing each other. You should be looking at the back side of the fabric of part 1 and part 2. Pin these 2 pieces together.
What we do here is go back.
Next, sew part 1 and part 2 together along the top and bottom only. Be sure not to sew the straight sides together. Once you have sewn part 1 and part 2 together, pull material inside out using one of the unsewn sides. You should now have one piece of fabric to work with.
Hi, my name is Kaylin. I'm a second-year computer science major from Dallas, Texas, and I'll be showing you guys how to do steps 7 through 8. So first, we're going to take our elastic band, and they want it to be 7 to 8 inches. So a little trick that I found is if you use your hand. Now, everyone's hand might not be the same length, but most people's hands are like 7 inches. So if yours is, then you can just use your hand, lay it flat, and take your string, kind of place it right by there, and see where your middle finger ends. That's like where 7 inches is. Or if you have a ruler, you can do it that way too to get an exact measurement. But after you have your 7 to 8 inches, you're gonna cut it. So now I have my elastic band, and I'm gonna take, which side orange? I'll do the side. My string, and I'm gonna kind of put it in the middle of my mask like this, closer to the end. And so after I do that, I'm gonna fold it over. So then it'll be like this. And so to secure this, I'm gonna use my pins, and I'm gonna put it on the outer edge so the elastic band does not move. You can see I kind of need to fold this one in. So I have to redo this one because the other side did not fold. And now it should be the same. Okay, so this is the end result of step 8. Your elastic band should be folded into your mask with your pins holding it down.
Hey everyone, I'm Marian Elise Turner. I'm a second-year international studies major with a minor in documentary filmmaking from Columbus, Mississippi. I'll be showing you how to complete the last step in your mask, which is sealing the ends of your elastic bands. So after you have your band, what you want to do is overlap them on top of each other like this. And once you overlap them on top of each other, we're gonna sew up and then come back down. Also, make sure you have a knot at the end of your string. So what we're going to do is come up and now you're gonna go right back down the middle. And you're going to continue to go up and then sew down and then sew up until your elastic band is sealed tightly. Once you've sealed it, you want to tie a few knots onto your mask to make sure that the string doesn't unravel, and then you'll cut off the remaining pieces of string. And this is how your final step should end up looking, completed and done. And there you have it, a DIY hand-sewn mask. Be sure to try the mask on to ensure the ear bands are secure. Thank you for your service. Bye!